get the hair working. Oh, pulled out my earring. Oh no, what day is it? I don't get a lot of sleep. Okay, hi everyone. I'm gonna review my December Memory Makers assignment. I hope to kind of review the 4 things that I put myself up to at the beginning of the month. We're already kind of well into January at this point, but I did feel like for me, I really wanted to sit down and reflect on how December went and talk a little bit about the assignment. It was too hard to sit down and film my reflections while everybody was home for the school break. It was just not gonna happen that I would find quiet time to sit and kind of reflect on how things were going. So we're doing it now. Everyone's back to school, and that'll be what it'll be, so that's good. For December, I had 4 elements of my Memory Makers assignment. You know what, honestly, I think that this approach to kind of mindfully putting a medium amount of time into thinking about how you want the month to go, and then letting it all unfold has resulted in, for me, having had one of the best Christmas seasons I've ever had. I think the first thing that I would attribute that to was the advent of kindness was the first element of the assignment. This was just awesome. It went better than I ever expected. It reaped me personal positive rewards throughout the entire holiday season. Now that the holidays are over and we're into the new year, I've seen a couple of people and they said, oh, how were your holidays? You have a new baby. Was it stressful with 3 kids? And I really said to people, no, it was wonderful. I think I've had the best Christmas yet. And I would attribute that largely to the advent of kindness. I think that it was really great to, get out of my own thinking, take my blinders off a little bit. And sure, there were things that were stressful, but there were also like a lot of opportunities to really feel the warmth and positivity around the holiday season. And I think Advent of Kindness was the activity that allowed me to kind of stay in the moment, to stay mindful and present to the holiday season, rather than getting too swamped with all of the things that should be getting done or all of the things that weren't getting done. I'm really super pleased with how it went. I will definitely be doing it in December of 2020. And I'm really, thank you so much. A lot of people really joined in online and gave me feedback or gave me ideas as to what was working for them and what they really liked about it. So thank you so much. I think that was a really fun way to engage together and to also kind of see what other people were doing and trying, and as a way of getting out of your own comfort zone and putting a little bit of effort into being kind and then reaping the benefits and rewards of that. I'm really pleased with how it went. I think that there were a couple of things that went into the design of Advent of Kindness that really enhanced its success. So the first thing is that I didn't, on purpose, create like a calendar, like December 1st, go and buy somebody a coffee, December 2nd, open the door for somebody, December 3rd, take a hot bath. Because what I find is the days pass so quickly that you can have a calendar and then you can look back on your calendar and see all of the like blank spots or all of the fails, all of the things that didn't get done on those days because you were just wrapped up in whatever was going on. And so I designed the Advent of Kindness with weeks, because I felt like people could take a step back, take a look at the lay of the land with a theme in mind, and then you might have a day where you did 3 or 4 activities and have that feel like you were creating momentum. And for me, I definitely felt like I was getting a lot of momentum and I was doing a lot of kind activities, whether it was kindness to myself or to my partner or to my family, to my community, strangers in my neighborhood. And I felt like because it was like by week and by theme, that really allowed me to keep up the momentum of my activities, rather than to see on a calendar, oh man, the last 5 days I haven't done my act of kindness, I better just bin the whole thing. The second element of the design of the Advent of Kindness that I think really worked is that while I used the term weeks, it was a really kind of organic and loosey-goosey sort of flow and structure, and I didn't have specific days when I released the next week. To me, that worked really well because it gave people an opportunity to kind of find their footing in the theme. It gave me an opportunity, when I say people, I'm talking about myself, it gave me an opportunity to find my footing in the theme and then kind of go forward with the plan. And sometimes the plan was going to take a couple days or not a very long period of time. If I had adhered to, you know, the 7 days a week structure, then I think that again would have created rigid boundaries that would have inhibited the momentum of the project. So I'm glad that I did that. Again, like I said, I think that this Advent of Kindness contributed to me having a really reflective, proactive, positive, laid-back holiday season. It was really wonderful, and I think it really contributed to minimizing my stress during the holiday period. I'm not exactly sure what was the correlation between stress and kindness, but I think the more space I created in my brain for kindness, the less space, because the space in my brain is finite, the less space there was for stress. And because I was proactively making that choice regularly and posting about it, that I was leaving less time to sort of ruminate or to be upset or stressed. I felt stressed during the holiday season, don't get me wrong, but I think again, because some of that space was being taken up by kindness and the Advent of Kindness and the creativity around the Advent of Kindness, that's what made it feel less stressful, and that's what kept me kind of in a really good holiday zone for the entire month of December. So thank you for participating. Thank you for following along. I think too, the interesting thing is there were some things that I did for Advent of Kindness that I didn't post to social media. That was primarily with the week 3, with the kindness to children, to kids and family. And that was just because it was just like super fast paced, you know. We went out to see a movie and we did a picnic and we were looking at photos together and we did all these things, and that kind of made me feel like I didn't do as much, but I did. I just didn't post about it. So that's an interesting thing to reflect on too, because obviously being kind is irrespective of whether you post it on social media or not, but it's sort of that like
Pixar didn't happen
type of vibe where for me I kind of felt like I hadn't done enough, but it was really because I hadn't posted very much because I just didn't have a lot of time to be online when the kids were home from the school break. So that's something to keep in mind for next year and to kind of stay out of that mindset, because it doesn't have to live on social media to be something nourishing and positive in my life. And that's something I'll be thinking about even with the memory makers moving forward, because I think it's valuable to know that positive activities in my life don't necessarily have to be getting the affirmation and attention from the social media outlet. I don't really want to get too caught up in the feedback loop that happens from that. The second thing was to listen to more modern classics, Christmas carols on Spotify, and this was really fun. I kind of threw together a Spotify playlist of the songs that immediately came to mind as being like modern classic. You know, every year for me, I kind of have like a new modern classic, or there's a classic that's on the radio and then it just stays in the lexicon and you're going to hear it for years and years on end. Like Justin Bieber's Mistletoe, or Kelly Clarkson has that song Wrapped in Red. These are songs that have just like been released in, you know, the teens or the early aughts, and they've just kind of become part of our modern Christmas carol lexicon. And so I threw all those songs on a playlist and I shared the playlist and I made it collaborative. And then partway through December, I listened to a podcast by The Lazy Genius, which is about creating a holiday vibe. And after I listened to that podcast, I went back to the playlist and I paired off a number of songs and I added new songs, because I decided that the music was really going to set the vibe for the holiday season in my home, and the vibe that I wanted, again, so this is kind of again about putting medium effort into how you want to feel and then letting that effort carry you through the rest of the month. So you really I find I'm really maximizing my living by just taking a bit of time and effort into these kind of thoughtful planning kind of activities, like thinking about a vibe and then executing that vibe and then just like letting it go and enjoying the benefits of having put that medium amount of effort in up front. So I decided that the vibe that I wanted for my playlist was positive, laid back, and hopeful. And any song that didn't meet those criteria got the axe. The first song that got the axe was Mariah Carey's All I Want for Christmas Is You.
I'm sorry, Mariah, that is not a laid-back song.
What? I won't speak for you, but I'll speak for me, is I've had a little bit of enough of that song. I really, again, wanted to adhere to that laid back, positive, hopeful kind of vibe. But what did end up on my playlist are a couple of covers of that song, which were a little bit more of the hopeful, melancholy, kind of laid back kind of vibe. And I'm really happy that I made those edits to the playlist. I'm really happy that I didn't say, oh, that's my Christmas playlist, I'm kind of sick of it. And I went back in and I rejiggered it up a bit and was able to kind of let it carry me through the second half of the season, because music is really going to cue me to those memories. So next year when I pull up that playlist, I'm going to be thinking again about December 2019, and I'm going to remember all of those songs. The one thing that didn't happen, which I think was a learning experience for me, was I made the playlist collaborative and I shared it. And I was hoping that people would hop onto the playlist and add their songs to it. And only one person did. That person was my mom. Hi, Mom. Thank you, Mom, for putting songs on the playlist. And people didn't do that. So that's something that is interesting to me. And if you have a comment on why that is, let me know. But the idea of a collaborative playlist really appeals to me, because when I'm playing it, I know the songs that are on there. And then a song that my mom had put on came on, and I thought, what's this? This is like, I didn't put this on. Oh, what's this song? And it really kind of snapped me out of it into a moment when I could like more actively listen to the background music and enjoy the Christmas carol that was kind of like a surprise. I would love feedback for you on whether that's interesting or not interesting to you. Because it's interesting to me, but that doesn't necessarily mean that people want to use Spotify. It could also be that you don't subscribe to Spotify. That's, not accessible to you, which would make sense too. Third thing for the Memory Makers assignment was paper crafts. Oh, paper crafts was interesting this month because I realized that to get really into acting with my hands and being with my hands, that there was a serious element of perfectionism that I had to overcome first. And that really came into play with paper crafts. I did not engage with paper crafting as much as I had hoped, and part of that is because of my own perfectionism. So I spent a lot of time on Pinterest and on Instagram looking up paper crafts and saving a lot of ideas and collecting a lot of ideas. And then when I kind of had settled on the project that I thought I would like to do, I spent way too much time on YouTube looking for how-tos in order to execute, when really I didn't need any of that. I could have used one inspiration photo and then just gathered the materials and gone to town with it. But I got really focused on picking the perfect project and then executing the project perfectly. And because I got too hung up on the outcome or the product that I was going to make with paper crafts, I limited the amount of time that I had to actually just enjoy the process and just kind of get messy, enjoy the, experience of being creative and enjoy the process of being creative. Paper crafts, that's kind of allowed me to learn a little bit more about myself and think more proactively about the ways that I can get that perfectionism out of the way before engaging in a creative activity, because I did manage to make some paper luminaries, some little like houses that I crafted out and then put LED candles inside, and they were over here in my home, and they were really sweet and I was really happy with them. But honestly, I didn't need to spend all the time that I spent on Instagram and Pinterest to find the perfect template, because in the end I just sat down, I cut up a bit of things, I used my X-Acto knife and I put the candle in and it looked good, and so I moved forward from there. And I think I would have had more time to kind of play around and have fun if I hadn't used that time to find the perfect thing and then figure out how to do the thing perfectly. I think the second part of it is it wasn't really practical, because the best place to craft is my dining room table, and my dining room table is like headquarters for my entire house, especially at Christmas. Everything lands there, everything gets done there, and then we eat there as well. And so to set up a paper craft, I would set something up and craft quickly and then have to clear it all away for the next wave of activities that was coming in. I think too, if I think about being creative and perfectionism and how to keep those from kind of butting up against each other, I think about the entryway. The entryway was an opportunity where I thought about what I wanted and I collected a bit of inspiration and then I let it flow organically. And that worked really well. And that was something that allowed me to maintain the creative momentum over time because I wasn't continuing to revisit and almost like grade my creativity against what was already out there in Pinterest or on social media to say like, oh, is it as good as what this product is, or does it match up to what I said I was going to do? Because often it doesn't. Often you just kind of follow the garden path. You know, those two experiences, the hall entryway as an act of creativity and the paper crafts as an act of creativity, are giving me an opportunity to learn about myself and to learn about my perfectionism and how it sometimes can get in the way, process versus outcome. And so that's interesting. That's just something that's interesting to know. So the fourth thing is I committed to read Little Women. The reason I committed to read Little Women is because the new movie came out on Christmas Day, and I grew up loving the movie from the 90s, I think it was, with Winona Ryder and Christian Bale. And I've read the book before, and I've also, I think, there's an old movie of Little Women with, I think, Judy Garland in it. I'm not sure. I'll check that out before I post this. So I was planning to read Little Women, and I knew when I was growing up that my grandma always had a bound illustrated copy of Little Women, because when I would come to her house, I would go to her cabinet, pull it out, and look at the beautiful pictures and read from it. And I said to my mom, whatever happened to that copy of Little Women? Do you know if Grandma has it? I'd like to read Little Women for my December Memory Makers assignment. And my mom said, I'm not sure. And we were at her house at the time, and she went to her storage area and came back up within seconds with the book. And so she had the book, and here it is. This is the exact book that I was thinking of when I asked my mom. And so she had it, and as she had it, she opened it up. It was shocking because here's this book that I was looking for. My mom found it immediately, and then inside the book was a note from my grandma that had been written in 2006, which was the year that I got engaged. And there's a sweet handwritten note about being a good wife, kind of tongue-in-cheek note. And so I just felt like inspired, and it was like the magic of Christmas that I had this book. Wow, what a special opportunity. I'm gonna get to read from this beautiful antique copy of Little Women for December. And then, unfortunately, I would sit down and try to read from this book, but it's actually a little bit cumbersome, it's a little bit unwieldy, and I also felt like I didn't want to ruin it, or I didn't want the kids to pick it up and ruin it, and I got a little bit in my own head about keeping it special and sacred, and I wasn't making it very far in the book, which made me sad because it's a really, really beautiful book. The writing is stunning. And so what I ended up doing was I went on my library app and I found the audiobook version, and I started listening to the audiobook. And then I encountered another barrier, which is so interesting to me, because when I listen to audiobooks, I usually pair it with something more mundane. I think a lot of people do this. I'm either driving or doing housework, walking the dog, and I kind of pair the act of listening to the audiobook with something like that. And I found that I was not listening to the book because of how beautiful and special it is. It felt like it was too special for walking the dog, and that I wasn't honoring just how beautiful and special this story is if I paired it with mundane activities. If I wasn't giving it my complete and full attention, then I was ruining it somehow. I felt like I had to be in the ideal circumstances to enjoy the prose, to enjoy the writing, to enjoy the themes of the book. And you know, that honestly got in my way. And it's about 16 hours. The audiobook is quite long. So I really did not make as much progress through the book as I had hoped. And I'm gonna keep listening to the audiobook through the month of January. But this is something that came up with the 12 Days of Sparkle, which is, if you have special things and you use your special things, does that make them less special? And I really would argue that it doesn't. The more you use your special things, the more you create opportunities to interact with them and create memories that enhance the unique and special nature that is within them. So the more I enjoy and listen to the story of Little Women, the more memory and the more association I attach to it, which in turn enhances the specialness of the story or the relevance of it to me as a person. And, you know, with through Sparkle, it's like, if you wear your nice things, does that make them less nice? No, it doesn't. It gives you more opportunity to interact with your beautiful things and appreciate your beautiful things and appreciate what you have and what you own for the specialness that it brings into your life. I think I will continue to read it now as a mom of really small young children, not the ages of the women in this book, and then I will continue to revisit it again, I think, as my kids get older. And I have boys, I don't have girls, I don't have daughters. So the book will continue to kind of take on new meanings for me. The thing I will say that resonated with me most in the parts of the book that I've made through is the role of the mother. I think the role of the mother is really a character that I did not pay close attention to when I read it in my youth. The mother is a really amazing character in this book, and if you're reading it or if you choose to read it in the future, I would really encourage you to pay attention to this woman who's really a fascinating character. I think everybody kind of focuses on Jo because Jo is, you know, vivacious and passionate and intelligent, and she's forging her place in the world, but she really does that by the backbone of her mother. And her mother is raising these 4 girls. She's a single parent for a huge chunk of the book. And as a single parent, you can see that as a liberal family, she is trying to raise her daughters to be good women, both in the constraints of the culture and society that they're living in, but she's also raising her daughters to redefine what being a good woman is as culture and society change, and to be forces that change culture and society. And I just think it's a message that still resonates even today in 2020 with everything that we see changing for women and in women in society. And so I'm interested to go and see the movie. I know Laura Dern plays the character of the mother. There's a really amazing part in the book where Jo is angry and she talks to her mother about being angry, and her mother says, I deal with anger every day of my life. And I manage being an angry person, and I just come to find ways to deal with it. And she confesses that to her daughter about, you know, not being a perfect person. Her daughter holds her on this pedestal, and they have this moment of relatability. That anger, you know, is something that many people can relate to, many women and many parents. And I just found it was pretty incredible that that's, you know, part of the narrative in this book. And so many years later, you know, I found that character of the mother to be so relatable. I think the general thesis of Little Women for me in reading it this time is, what does it mean to be a good woman? What are the actions of a good woman? The mother is really kind of trying to raise her daughters to that standard. You know, and I think even me today, I'm trying to figure out, what does it mean to be a good person? What is the kind of good woman that I want to be? And that's the true test of amazing literature. It speaks to people time and time again, and it speaks to people over many, many years. And so I think that I'm really happy that while I haven't finished the book, I'm going to continue to read it, and I'm really happy that I made it part of the assignment for December. That's all for me for now. I really think December was a month to remember. I'm going to look back so fondly on December 2019, mostly because of the advent of kindness and just how great of an exercise it was, and how much it allowed me to minimize stress and enhance positivity during a really busy time of year with 3 young, busy kids and lots of people visiting. We had probably a record number of visitors in our home over the Christmas break, and it made me so happy. I think that, you know, I've often said with Medium.Lady, what I want to do is to connect with people through social media, people who have experiences that are similar to mine or different from mine, build community that way. But it was truly, as much as social media is amazing, it was truly the moments of social connection, the moments of face-to-face that really, you know, nourished my heart and kept my spirit merry and bright through the holiday season. I think I will continue to look for opportunities to be inviting people into my home, but also, you know, sitting here with you and chatting with you is a way of kind of inviting you into my life, and I'm finding that to be a very rewarding experience so far in 2 months of Medium.Lady. And I appreciate you so much. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. I hope you are having a great day wherever you are. Take good good care, and we'll see you soon.